Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, a little bit more of a serious one, so I want to give you guys my honest feedback on whether ranked is actually better than Power League right now. It's a big discussion in the community right now. Everyone's debating it on Twitter, and I just want to give you guys my complete and honest review because I played a ton of Power League. I played a lot of ranked as well, and I want to weigh up the pros and cons and what can be hopefully changed for rank in the future, because I feel like it's got such big potentials. Something's a little bit missed with it at the moment, but at least it seems fun for now. So I'm going to be going through the Power League pros and cons first, just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher on why Power League was good and bad for some people. So taking a look at all the pros, essentially all the pros are to do with the competitive nature of Power League and solo in particular. For me, I feel like it actually represented true competitive gameplay. So, you know, you can literally play Power League. Like, I've heard of multiple people that are grinding Power League and they're able to then make a big impact in competitive. You know, a few examples of this, I'm not saying the Power League Warriors, but players like Joker and Jero, for example, they're literally some of the best players in the world, and they grinded a ton of Power League. Like, I knew of them through Power League, and then they kind of got scouted. They obviously scrimmed a lot as well, and that made them some of the best players in the world. But I feel like if you grinded ranked, I feel like you won't be able to just then try out competitive. You get what I mean? Like, a Masters player won't stand a chance in competitive, but in the old system, in Power League, I felt like they would have somewhat of a chance. They could literally just pick up and play competitive, but I guess that's not really in Brawl Stars' field of view at the moment. But also, getting Masters actually felt rewarding. So only rewarding in the sense like, oh, I've just finally hit Masters. Like, that was hard to get because I had to beat a lot of good players to get my way to Masters. Now it feels like Masters is, oh, I've got Masters. I mean, maybe for the first time it feels exciting for you guys, but I feel like as the seasons go on, it won't really hit the same. But that might be an issue in the future. Also, solo Power League experience I thought was really fun. Maybe as a viewer, was it fun? I want to see your guys' opinion on that. But I just thought it was a fun experience because sometimes you can get some good randoms, sometimes you get bad randoms. I just really enjoyed it, especially on my streams. I think it resembled what the pros did fantastically. Also, randoms had a lot more brain cells than now, so I wish I didn't complain so much about the randoms in the past, because Power League randoms are definitely better than my ranked randoms. And then lastly, I feel like the top leaderboards were fairly represented on skill mostly. So if you take a look at pretty much every Power League season, you'd see the pros were at the top of the leaderboards. That's just how it should be, right? It's a competitive game mode. The pros should dominate it. That's just how things are in every single rank setting on every single game I've ever played. So I know people might get annoyed by that. It's a little bit boring, you might say, but that's how skills should be represented. If the pros are winning the World Finals, they should be able to win Power League games pretty easily and be at the top and reflected easily. But I feel like in ranked, it's not really reflected too easily. And now, going into the cons of Power League. So there's a lot of cons to Power League. After looking back at it, I realized just how boring it can be for the casual player base. So the seasons were too long, the rewards were terrible, the elo system was unrewarding, confusing, and just, I don't know, there wasn't really an elo system. It was just a bar. So you didn't really know how much you were gaining, how much you were losing, why you were losing that, for example. Also, the meta got really stale for most people. There's a ton of negatives of Power League looking back at it. Again, most of the negatives I would say are for the casual play base, which is the majority. That's a 99% of Brawl Stars. So I see why Power League was changed so much, but that's just a quick dive into Power League. So now we're going to be weighing up the pros and cons of ranked so far. There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. I've got a lot of opinions about this, so let's dive into it. So first, we're going to go through the pros of ranked. So first and foremost, it's more fun. That is the main thing they were trying to target with the update, in my opinion. Like Power League, I know it's a very competitive game mode, but it wasn't fun for the casual play base. It just got stale, the meta was boring, so at least it is more fun. Even as a competitive player, hand on heart, I'm having a lot more fun with ranked. There's a lot of other issues that are frustrating me, but I think the gameplay, the mods, and everything combined, I'm having a more fun experience at the top end. So if it's fun for the top end, if it's fun for the casual play base, then it's a big win. I can see it reflected in the views on my live streams, on my channel in general. So you guys must be enjoying ranked, right? That's a win for all of us, I would consider. Next is a more diverse meta. So I do enjoy just getting the chance to play different brawlers. Sometimes in some metas I've had where you could literally probably play 10 brawlers if you're playing Power League ranked, which it was boring. Like, I like diverse brawler pools, just because, you know, again, there's like nearly 80 brawlers in the game. If you're only having a chance to play 10 brawlers, it's not a balanced meta, it's not fun. So the modifiers allowed it to be a lot more diverse, the map pool, etc, etc. It's just more fun in that way. There's a lot better rewards, so of course that is the main problem with Power League. The rewards were just, wasn't any. It was just flawed in that sense. So there's more rewards in the sense like you get more bling, you get the chance to get a lot of cool Power League cosmetics, you also get the chance to get mythic star drops, legendary star drops, which is really good. I think that's one of the big reasons why people are playing ranked, is the grind to get legendary star drops. You know, on my free-to-play accounts, for example, I'm literally trying to push to get them legendary star drops. It's so hyped. So I love that they've included that into ranked. That was one thing I feared they wouldn't actually do. The introduction to ranked is actually really good. I've had a lot of suggestions about this on my tweet, that people really enjoyed the first few ranks. You know, it's really quick. You can just pick your brawler and you can play. Maybe they could up that another rank. I think it's up to diamond right now. Maybe if you reach all the way up to mythic, it's just really fast. I think it's just a good way to introduce people to ranked. You know, it's pretty chill. You could literally just pick up and play Brawl Stars. That was the key kind of negative to Power League, in my opinion, was that the draft just took too long and you couldn't just literally play a quick game. Like, for example, if you just want to play ladder, you could just play a quick game and log off. For ranked, you can't really do that. So I'm glad they did that as an introduction. Definitely a big positive in my opinion. It's not too hard to get masters, which can be seen as a positive. I know a lot of the competitive players are having a big say on this, but you've got to consider it as a pro in some sense, right? Because it gives the casual players something to aim for, which I'm not too sure whether the rank is inflated as it seems. Again, I'm waiting for the stats. I think Frank said he might put out the stats as to where most players lie in every single rank. That would be good to look at, to see, you know, a comparison between how many players were masters in Power League in the last ever season, for example, and now how many players are masters in ranked right now, the percentage, to see whether we're just saying it's inflated or whether it's actually inflated. I think we'll get a good stance at that. But for the casual players, I think it's good because they have something to aim for. You know, they don't have to put hours and hours. You know, in some ranked setting, like some ranked games, you probably have to put in, I don't know, 6 hours a day plus to really learn the game that well and to grind and to get the top of the league. But like, it can take you years to literally get at the top of some ranked systems. Whilst in Brawl Stars, it maybe takes you a few months to really learn the meta, learn the modifiers. Eventually, you're going to be able to get masters, I feel like, in this ranked system. I also like the fact that there's no rank demotion, so there's no tilting. It leads to a more positive experience for the casuals. Again, this could be a big issue to the rank inflation, so that could also be a negative. But at the same time, I think it's okay. Maybe that you don't demote for 2 ranks. I think that could be like a good sweet spot, because right now that's definitely causing some big issues. You know, people are losing time and time again, but they're staying at legendary 1. So of course it's just going to be inflated if you don't de-rank. I don't know, it's a bit of a pro and con. Next is that I've got to say the rank designs are incredible. I've voiced this before, but I really feel like hitting, you know, master, even like diamond, legendary, for example. It really felt like legendary when I hit it for the first time. Just the cool animations, the rank itself, the legendary voiceover. It felt legendary to me. I felt excited to get legendary for the first time that season. I don't know again if it's going to wear off in the future, but I think they did a really good job of redesigning all of that. And lastly, I've already mentioned it, the legendary star drops are amazing for the progression. I think that's a really good touch, and you saw how exciting the star drop event was literally a week ago. I think it's a good thing. Now let's move into the content. So I'm probably going to rant a lot about this, so maybe put your earbuds in. But as a competitive player at heart, I've got a lot of strong opinions about this. So the first one straight away I think of is that Elo is so inflated. So inflated. You see me on the second channel on stream, I'm complaining about this non-stop, because for me it doesn't make sense to make everybody masters players. You know, people, I'm checking their profile and they've got a hit silver in the past, they've hit gold, they've hit diamond. Like, no offense to people that were in that range in Power League. Like, maybe, you know, you can't argue the case that people just didn't play Power League before because it wasn't really fun, etc, etc. But at the same time, I think it just makes a really negative experience when everybody is masters. Again, we'll dive into that, but it doesn't make sense. There should maybe be like an additional rank or just something a little bit extra. Again, we'll dive into it a little bit more in the video. Next is that some people still don't get Dynamite even at masters, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, I've seen so many memes where their silver friend has just literally unlocked Dynamite. I was fortunate enough, I think even at bronze, I got Dynamite, one of my first ever rank drops. But then there's quite a lot of people at like legendary masters that still haven't got Dynamite, which is a frustrating experience. So I think they need to fix the drop rates one way or another. Maybe if you hit masters, you're guaranteed to get that Dynamite. Maybe that would be a good change. I don't know. People don't like negative experience when it comes to like, oh, there's this new shiny skin, but then you can't get it. It's like with the old Power League system, like, oh, there's a new shiny skin, right? You have to first get 60 wins, play 60 games or whatever it was, and then you've also got to pay bling for it, which you didn't earn enough for. Like, as a negative experience, still this is considered a somewhat negative experience for some people. Next is that the competitive spirit is completely gone. I hate to say it, because again, I'm all about competitive. For me, I've been a pro player for years and years. Like, competitive is me. I breathe competitive. And for me, it really does sadden me that now I hop on and play ranked. Like, literally this morning, I played 5 ranked games. I won them so easily. And everybody, again, no disrespect to them, they were just a bot. It was like I was playing in diamond level Power League. It truly was like that. So it does dishearten me a lot. There can be a lot of fixes to this, but I feel like it's completely gone in that sense, unfortunately. You know, people are picking Power 10 Colt all the time. People are picking Spike in every single scenario possible when he's not even an S tier brawler. Like, he's an A tier brawler. He's a pretty consistent pick. But you don't just go and pick Spike everywhere. It's just frustrating. It really is. And also the modifiers, again, we'll dive into that in a little bit. But the modifiers have pretty much killed the competitive sense of ranked, in my opinion. But again, that can be fixed in a few ways. Their report system is way too lenient. So I've seen so many cases of where people are just consistently dodging, and maybe they get like a 3-hour timeout, but then they can just do it again and do it again and do it again. We've seen this was a big problem when the servers were a bit messed up, which was fair enough, right? They had to disable the reputation system because it was kicking you out of the games. But I feel like the reputation system needs to be far more strict, in my opinion, in terms of like win traders, in terms of people giving up at the end of the game. All of that stuff, it needs to be more strict. I know they're probably collecting a bunch of data, and we're going to improve it in the future. I know that for a fact, but it's still frustrating that people can just get away with not getting a good draft, and they can just plain and simple dodge. It's just crazy to me. You're essentially cheating the game, because sometimes you can win the game on drafting. You can literally win it. If you draft well, you can win the game. But then if someone knows they've lost the game on the draft and they just dodge, that's just a cheesy way out of it. It's literally cheating, essentially. So I just hate dodging. You probably know that already. In terms of the elo changes, I still feel like it's inconsistent. So for me, sometimes I'm unsure. I guess there's obviously like some type of algorithm behind it, which I'm not completely toned into. Hopefully they explain that in a future podcast or something. But I feel like it's still a little bit inconsistent. I think that might be due to the fact that you can queue up with, like, say if you're a Masters players, you can queue up with a Mythic player now. So the inconsistency is probably a lie with that, because again, I'll rant into that in the future. But basically, if you're like a Masters player, you can queue up with Mythic friends, and those Mythic players will hardly lose any elo if they lose. But if they win, they'll gain a bunch of elo. But then, say for me, for example, I'm facing off against those Mythic players, I'll probably gain like 15 elos. So I know like they fixed this a little bit like a week ago, but still, I'll gain 15 elo. But then if I lose, I'll lose a lot because I've faced off against Mythic players. It's very unlikely that I'll lose, but I just think that scenario itself, it shouldn't be a thing. So hopefully they fix that in the future. I think this is only for the small percentage of Brawl Stars, like the 0.1%. But there's currently a 10k elo book. So essentially right now, if you've reached 10,000 elo, which is, I believe, 1,000 above Masters, it then sorts it by your highest trophies overall, which is just crazy to me. Which doesn't make sense. For me, as a content creator, or just, you know, somewhat retired pro player, I like the leaderboard grind. With any kind of rank system, I like trying to push myself as high as possible on the leaderboards, but with this, I literally can't do it. So to me, that should have been fixed straight away. Now, I'm like, what do I do now? I can't grind to #1 in ranked. my content just feels a little bit meh. Like, I don't actually feel excited about winning or losing once I reach 10k elo. Again, it's not a big problem for everyone, but I just hope they fix it so I can make some better content. That's just me personally. And then a few more cons. We have no all-time high finish on the profile. Again, we'll dive into that. And then also exploitable matchmaking. I'm hoping they fix that pretty soon. I've already explained that pretty briefly, but there's just a lot of ways you can just exploit the system. I'm hoping they change it soon. The next point I wanted to take a look at is the modifiers itself. So that was the controversial thing, especially when I seen ranked for the first time. Straight away, all the competitive players, well, the majority of the player base were like, modifiers, you know, this is a competitive mode. You literally had Marzio memeing myself, like screaming at the phone on Brawl Talk, which I guess, I don't know, I was right in some ways, but also at the same time, it could be good for the casual player base. We'll dive into it. So, are modifiers actually good or not? So mods have improved the fun factor for sure. Sometimes a modifier can be cheesy and sometimes influence the meta too much, but it definitely has improved the fun factor in my opinion. Like, I know, like, even though it's a ranked game mode, I secretly love getting quickfire. I'm like, yes, I've got quickfire. I'm able just to not even try this game and spam auto aim relentlessly. I mean, am I bad for saying that? Even though I'm moaning about the competitive integrity just going downhill. I don't know. I think it is fun, but at the same time, quickfire is probably the least competitive modifier out of all of them, and it feels like I'm playing a mega pick modifier. That's literally what it feels like. I had someone say the other week that literally Masters now is mega pick Masters. That was just hilarious to me. I think that's the most like perfect summarization I can think of getting Masters in this current point in time. Next, we have the big frame modifiers. So I think it's a really fun concept, but extremely uncompetitive, as the brawlers just don't feel like themselves anymore. I don't know. Again, it would be a bit more fitting if this was a mega pick modifier, but yeah, I don't know. That's definitely the cheesiest one. Like, how boring is it just picking a Frank or a high HP brawler and then everyone has that same HP? Again, it's a fun concept, but I just don't like it in general. Like, how is it fun just having Spike have 10k HP with unlimited healing? To me, that just, I don't know. Also as well, like, it leads to a really frustrating experience, because if you're the tank itself, you're going to be terrible, because the good thing about tanks is that, you know, eventually once you close the gap on those squishy brawlers, you could take them down quickly. But then if you have, I don't know, a Charlie with 14k HP and you're a primo, how are you going to defeat that brawler? You're not going to. So it just makes it so if you're the tank, you're literally useless. I don't know. It still makes a negative experience for me. And then lastly, time detonation. So I actually like this modifier a little bit because it makes for a more skillful, you know, it's literally wide open. Your jukes really matter a lot. But at the same time, it's only sharpshooters only. The meta gets really stale. The map opens up way too quickly. I think if they added some improvements, I think time detonation would be a win modifier overall. I'll say it's, of course, a more competitive one, because literally sharpshooters, it takes pure aim. I like it overall, but hopefully we make some changes. So the big positives with modifiers overall, then each modifier has their own meta and brawler pool, so it can feel really fresh switching between 4 different modifiers. You know, you never know which one you're going to get, especially for the first time when you play those modifiers every single season. I think that's a really cool fresh feeling that makes you want to learn the meta, just play as much as possible. That's how I felt as soon as I played ranked. I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go. Even though it's a little bit cheesy, I like finding what's good on quickfire. I like finding who's good in big friend. It was a fun experience, in my opinion. Also, for the casuals, they don't want to sweat too much, so it can feel fun and different. Again, if you just want to play at the lower levels, not everyone wants to reach Masters, right? It can be fun just to log in on ranked and, you know, you're playing quickfire and you're just spamming out shots and then you just log off for the day. You know, it can be fun in that sense, so I don't really mind it too much. Also, modifiers changing every single month is a good thing as well. It keeps things fun and fresh. I think it would be a negative experience, you know, if every single month we just got the same modifiers. But again, next season it's changing again, so different metas, different experience overall. We'll see how the modifiers go. I think we got to give it 3 months. Again, I'm more on the positive side with modifiers. This is kind of strange for me to say it, but at the same time, here are some big negatives. It's hard to see how any modifier can actually be considered slightly competitive. They dropped the skill cap significantly. Like, how can any of these modifiers, hand on heart, like, you must be deluded if you think any of these or even slightly competitive. The only argument I would somewhat agree with is that you have to think a little bit more about what decisions you're making within the draft. But I think as soon as you get into the game, it completely removes the skill cap. I think time detonation, it doesn't. But for Big Friend and Quickfire, it definitely reduces the skill cap a lot. Like, where's the skill in having unlimited ammo? You know, I'm playing Gene and I'm just spamming out shots. Where's the skill in getting unlimited ammo on the high save, for example? So, yeah, I just struggle to see how it really fits into competitive or ranked. You know, I can sure say that Modifiers won't be getting to competitive. The pro players would literally cause a riot if that happens. So at least it's not going to reach competitive, I hope. Also, some of the brawlers don't even work on Quickfire, for example. You know, brawlers like Miko, Bo, there's probably a few more examples. I think Tick doesn't work. I'd hope they'd actually fix this pretty quickly throughout the season, because now we're nearly at the end of a season and I've not had the chance to experience a Quickfire Bo or Tick, for example. I think that would have been fun to get some quick fixes on these brawlers. And also, it can lead to way too much cheese, and it doesn't fit the narrative of ranked. Like, again, your Spike or your Tick having 10k HP, that doesn't feel like competitive. It feels like I'm playing Mega Pig, so it just doesn't really suit it in that sense. So there are a few fixes that can happen with these modifiers. There are probably quite a few, but I think the first one is that once you get to higher rank, like Legendary or Masters, they would lower the chance of getting each modifier. Some people are just saying completely remove them at Masters. I would be fine with that, but at the same time, it still might be a little bit too repetitive once you reach Masters. So just lower the chance of each modifier. So right now, it's 50%, and then 20%, 20% for both Quickfire and Time Detonation, and then 10% for Big Friend. So maybe at Masters, make it so 75% of the time you get the Classic modifier, and then 25% for the others. I don't know. The numbers can be tweaked, but I hope they are tweaked. I don't want as many modifiers as I'm getting at Masters level gameplay. Again, it doesn't really reflect competitive. It's a good small change, but to me, it gets way too cheesy. Also, I think they did really well emergency nerf and Quickfire. I definitely give them props for that, because literally you would have unlimited ammo with Gene before. So I'm hoping they make more changes throughout the season. You know, next month, if one of the modifiers is a little bit broken or not too fun, they just make some quick adjustments. I know it's pretty hard with maintenance and whatever else, but I just hope they keep up with the modifiers, because I feel like they do have potential, but there are some big flaws with them. So now moving on to the all-important question, and that's whether or not Masters is too easy to get right now. So there's a lot of pros and cons about this. I'm very passionate about this discussion, because I feel like Masters is just tainted now, and it just doesn't hit the same anymore. So the big problem is, again, time and time again, I like checking the player profile to see what their previous rank was. Again, it might be because players didn't really play Power League too much, but it just feels to me that absolute NPCs are getting Masters at the moment. I'm talking people that pick Edgar all of the time, people that pick Power 10 Colt in my lobbies, people that pick Curveball Spike everywhere. These players that were like silver players, diamond players at maximum before, are getting in my Masters lobbies. Masters. It feels like I'm playing Diamond Power League 24/7. It feels like I'm playing Mega Pig. That's how ranked feels right now. Sometimes it can be fun, but at the end of the day, when you think of ranked, you think of competitive, you think of trying to become a better player by playing this game mode in particular, and it makes me feel like I'm getting worse at the game. That's how it feels to me personally. That might be a big statement to make, but that's truly how I feel. Power League, I felt like if I played a game on Power League and I was winning and, you know, getting Masters, etc., I felt like I was improving at the game. I felt like I was on my way to doing what the pros do, for example. So in other games, in general, again, I haven't played like a ton of ranked on all of these different titles like Valorant, etc. But, you know, typically, if you're at the top rank of, I don't know, a certain game, you have to be a truly top player. So in terms of like top 1,000 of the player base, top 5,000 of the player base, etc., etc. But rank doesn't feel like that. They're just literally letting anybody in at this point in time, which is literally, if you've seen the meme itself, you know, like I'm scrolling down Twitter and every single time I load the app, I'm scared, because I'm like, I'm scared who's going to get Masters at this point. Like, literally the worst of worst players are getting Masters. I mean, no disrespect to them, but it's still crazy. Like, they're literally letting anybody into Masters, the supposedly elite rank in Brawl Stars. I don't know, it's just, I'm just salty, right? I wanted to gatekeep Masters, no, but seriously, for a competitive game mode, it needs to be harder. Like, not everybody should be achieving a top rank. That's just, it just doesn't make sense. It's just a bit silly, isn't it? Like, come on, Brawl Stars, fix this. Anyways, let's jump into the pros and cons then. So for the pros then, I think for the casual player base, again, it is good. I try and see through the casuals' eyes as much as possible now, especially since I retired from competing for years now. I'm starting to go into the casual mind a little bit more, because if the casuals are happy, then the majority of the Brawl Stars community is happy, and my channel does better, you know, the community is better. Then if the casuals are doing better, then the competitive like esports can do better, because then they can put more money into that. You know, it just helps the economy, it helps the cycle going. But at the same time, I think it's too achievable for casuals to reach. Like, it can be good in a sense, like, you know, casuals don't have unlimited time to play the game. That's going to be the #1 argument, right? Like, I can feel that, because even myself, I don't play as much as I'd want to, because I take a lot of time to create content. I take a lot of time to do in real life stuff now. You know, I actually touch grass now. You know, years ago when I was like 19, 20, well, that's like only 4 years ago, but you know what I mean. I was still pretty young then. I was able to just sit in my room and just play Brawl Stars all day, because that was what I did for a job. But now, you know, a lot of people have jobs, a lot of people are in college, a lot of people are at school, so they don't have all time to play. You know, people have lives, so I guess that can be good in that sense. Like, if it's achievable for the casual player base, I think that's good, so there's less frustration, as getting a top rank isn't as tilting, and it is achievable. Everyone likes something achievable. You know, I feel like I would play a lot more other games if I felt like I didn't have to put as much grind into them to get the highest rank. That I would play a lot more games for that reason. But at the same time, rank inflation means that matchmaking doesn't really feel fair. So right now, again, like, I was playing quite a few games before I did this video, and it doesn't feel fair, because you might get like a silver previous highest rank, or a gold, or a mythic, all into masters. So if all these players are into masters, then it's even more of a lottery on whether or not you'll have a good random teammate or not. Like, it's just crazy. Normally in masters, like, you would know, even if your random kind of sucks, you'd know that at least, like, they've got legendary too. They've got to be half decent. They'll know the meta. But boy, did these randoms not know anything about the game, even at masters. It breaks my mind. Again, there'll be someone in the comments like, oh, well, they're just casuals, so don't need to know everything. But that's not the point. If you're playing at masters and you want to kind of mimic what the pros do, you just can't in the rank system, unfortunately. It really does grind my gears. Next, we have masters lost the edge to it now. If everybody's getting masters, then when you next want to grind it next season, it just doesn't feel as cool. So again, it might just lose its touch. People might just eventually stop playing ranked, because they're like, oh, well, ranked is easy, you know, it's not as cool, everybody's getting it. It just doesn't have that kind of grind to it. Essentially, again, the casual player base is the majority, but still at the top 0.1%. Even the casuals care about that, because ultimately when you play ranked, you want to think about getting on the leaderboard system, you want to think about grinding. But if there's nothing to grind to after masters, then people just get bored and they stop playing it. I'm seeing it reflected a lot right now. Just looking through my friends list, every single time I look, people aren't playing ranked anymore. They're playing ladder instead of ranked, because of all of the bad stuff going on at the highest. So now we're going into the nitty gritty. Then we're going to look at what changes would you make for this then. So the first one is that you could add more ranks per rank. So that sounds confusing, but essentially, you know, I've seen this idea thrown a few times, but you know, in bronze right now, with every rank, you only have 3 kind of tiers, right? You have bronze 1, bronze 2, bronze 3, and then you go up to the next rank. Maybe they make it so it's bronze 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. I know that's a bit more of a grind, but it just means that, you know, the people that really grinded can get to masters. Like, masters could still be easily attainable, but it's just more of a grind throughout the season. I don't know, maybe they can like fix the elo in some way. I'm just hoping they add more ranks, or they could literally just add another rank above masters. Some people have spoke about this, you know, maybe, again, I don't know how it is in other games. I would have a really good vision if I played it in other games, but you know, I'm thinking a simple thing like Grand Champion. You know, the top 1,000 players get into Grand Champion, for example. I think that would be cool. You know, you could drop in and out of Grand Champion depending on where you are on the leaderboard. I think that'd be a great touch. That'd be insane for content, or even a top 500 players. You know what I mean. I know only the small percentage of players are doing that, but that's exciting. That's going to create a lot of opportunities for all these pro players, etc., to get their names out there. That's what ranked is all about. Also, I think they should filter matchmaking more appropriately based off elo. So again, if you're solo queuing, I feel like they should like matchmake you appropriately with the same elo. So I'm playing at 10k elo right now, and people are not matchmaking with me based on my elo. It's just based off ranks purely. Like, I should be literally on my leaderboards, it says I'm in the top 100, so I should be facing people with 10k elo too, but it doesn't feel like that. I'm getting matched with legendary 2 players, for example, which is insane. I should be literally facing some of the best players in the world right now, but I'm not. I'm just facing randoms every single time, so I'm just really confused about that. Also, I would make it so you could see players elo on the leaderboard, so that would just be really good. I'd make it exciting. You know, for example, in Call of Duty, you can literally see the elo points at the top of the leaderboard, so you know you could calculate somewhat how much grinding, how many wins you'd need to overtake that player. That'd be fantastic, because right now all you know is that they're masters, and that's it. You just gotta hope that every single time you win, you go above that player. But if you could literally see their elo on their profile or on the leaderboard, that'd be such a good change. I really hope Brawl Stars do that. Also, they need to make it as well so your season highest is on your profile. That'd be fantastic. You know, like power play, for example, talking years ago, that was such a good feature. Like, I remember getting #1 in power play, and that video blew up. That gave me a lot of exposure, but that's just so cool to flex, right? So even if it goes up to the top 2,000, for example, on your player profile, that's just a good flex. It gives you more incentive to grind, and like I said, that's what ranked is all about, trying to get to the top of the leaderboards as much as possible. So now that leads us to the final question: is ranked actually better than Power League? So subjectively, I would say that ranked is a lot better than Power League. I think for the casual player base, it definitely is. For the competitive small percent of players, which again is kind of what the mode's all about, I would say it's Power League is better in that sense. But I think with some good changes to ranked, again, it's the first month that they've introduced this, so you want to give them some slack. They're bound to make a bunch of changes. I hope they do, because ranked has so much potential. I think they really hit the nail on the head with a lot of things. It's just well, it's not really small changes, but if they make these changes that I've kind of highlighted in this video, I think it'll be way better than Power League. I'm really hoping they make the change, and then I'm just excited to make as much content as possible. So again, I'll briefly go over the points that will really improve ranked overall. So they need to make it so you can't team up with people 1 rank lower than you, well, 1 rank or lower than you, so it doesn't mess up all the elo system and blah 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 blah. People are abusing the matchmaking. We need to increase skin drop rates. We need to make elo more consistent. We need to change masters to make it harder, or add a leaderboard season best to your profile. That could be a good quick fix. We need a harsher report system. We need less modifiers at masters, and maybe even at masters solo only. That's another debate, but I kind of like that, just so it really means like that particular player is the best player in the world if they're able to get #1 solo only. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. So a long one. Again, I was super passionate about this. I know I probably missed a few points, but I really tried to hit the nail on the head with a lot of these things. I hope you guys enjoy these type of videos. If you do, make sure to comment below, and I'll continue to do these type of videos, because I really like expressing my opinion. You know, I'm a really passionate Brawl Stars player. I've been playing pretty much as anyone ever has, so I've got a lot of opinions about this game. But yeah, it's gonna be it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.